Welcome back to another Inside Lansing. This week's guest is Mayor Patty Eidam. Mayor, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Neil.
So we're into your second year here, and probably one of the big things to talk about first was something people see being built every day is Fox Pointe. We're kind of nearing completion there. Could you tell us about that?
We are. It's an exciting time for our village with this multi-entertainment venue that we'll soon have and be able to use. It is nearing completion. The amphitheater needs some epoxy paint on the floor and some cedar planking on the ceiling and maybe a little bit of ornamental iron, and a little lighting and sound equipment still has to go in, and that will be complete. The other buildings, the pavilion, the restroom building, and the concession building need final coats of paint and, again, a little bit of ornamental iron. The sod that we put down early in the year after we got the irrigation system in has come in very nicely, looks very healthy.
Now, something about that was originally you guys were going to do seed, but you guys saw the fourth, like you guys kind of envisioned maybe we shouldn't do that, correct? You changed the plans.
Yeah, we just, we took a step back. We had time. We took a step back and realized that if there came a time when there was a festival, a concert, or another performance back to back on weekends in the future, that grass might not have time to recover. Right. So we learned from the landscape architects that it would be more reliable if we put down sod. So we then took another step back and got pricing on an irrigation system. So the areas between the pavilion and the amphitheater have sprinkler system, and the sod's coming in very nicely and is established, as is all of the grass.
A little extra care and love, and you're going to get a lot for that.
It was a little more expense. That would make sense, but we think in the long run it's going to save us money and look a lot nicer.
And when are we looking at this ribbon cutting or opening for?
We're planning a ribbon cutting for Fox Pointe Friday, September 28th at 5 o'clock. And we're in the very early planning stages of that, so folks will have to watch for details.
Talking a bit about Fox Pointe, we have the Autumn Fest coming up for it, and that's one of our big events. Mm-hmm. What else do you envision for the future, like beyond? Everyone in my administration that you ask has a different idea. And I hope that we can eventually use all those ideas. There are people on our staff that, can't wait to have a 70s or 80s band, and I'm all for that too. I happen to be a fan of country and western music. I would be excited to see something like that. I personally would also like to see us try to coax the Northwest Indiana Symphony to just come a mile or so across the state line to our beautiful new facility. That would be excellent. Now, going from big project Fox Pointe to maybe something smaller that people maybe don't even know about is something called the Loan Closet. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't know much about it until recently. And so maybe you could help give a little history as to what is the Loan Closet. Sure. The Lansing Loan Closet has been in existence for decades. When we were in the old village building at Chicago and Ridge, it was housed in a garage that was out behind the building, and the village loaned gently used medical equipment to people in need, mostly on a temporary basis. There was no charge. And, we kept a simple record of somebody that needed to borrow something, everything from crutches, canes, walkers. At that time, we even had a couple hospital beds and also some bathroom accessories for folks that were in need of things like that. So when we moved into the new municipal center in 2009, there was simply no space. Yeah. Absolutely no space. The garage actually went with the house next door to the old village clerk's office, and that was sold, and so we ended up with no space. However, we did not totally discontinue it, hoping that sometime we would be able to build it back up, and so we reduced the inventory to canes and crutches and maybe a walker or two. So late last year, Pastor Holier from Trinity Lutheran Church came to see me
and told me that he was looking a way for his church and his congregation to be more involved in Village. So I gave him a couple ideas, and the last idea I gave him was, would he be interested, since it sounded like he had the space, to take over the Lansing Loan Closet. So he took that idea back to the church elders and his congregation, and a couple months later came to us and said they're ready to do it. They're very excited, and so now it's come to fruition, and they have an old classroom in the former Trinity Lutheran grade school.
A lot more space than what you were dealing with, right?
Yeah, so they have already taken over the small inventory that we had. We worked together to simplify the paperwork that we were using. They're using practically the same method. And so you can call Megan Rowe over at Trinity Lutheran. She's the administrative assistant there. And she will either take in items, gently used medical equipment that people want to donate, or she will also loan out any item that someone might need for a time. So it's going to be a great fit. It's still called the Lansing Loan Closet.
Is this something that's common in other communities, or is this something that Lansing kind of only does?
I don't know exactly how it started in Lansing, right, Neil, but I do know that behind the building that you're in right now, there used to be a garage, probably 3 decades ago, maybe a little more.
Okay.
And so the garage was used as the Lansing Loan Closet, and it was run out of this building. So it's been a long time, and I'm really, really happy that we can continue that tradition and service for our residents.
We're glad, and there's other ways to find out about it. We have videos up online about that, so if people want to check it out, go check it out.
Yeah.
So another topic that we can probably talk about today is street resurfacing. I know that was something that was very important to you coming in as mayor, and maybe you could explain why it's important, even though I think it's kind of obvious.
It was.
Where we're at.
It was at the top of our list when my administration took office, Neil. When we were campaigning and knocking on doors, talking to people, asking them what their concerns were about our village and asking what our top list of priorities should be from our residents. Street resurfacing, the terrible condition of many of our streets, was at the top of the list. And it wasn't that it had been ignored. There were some financial situations that prevented the village from keeping up on that. And we found ways financially to move forward with that. We used our village engineers, Robinson Engineering, to help us come up with a list of the streets that were in the very worst condition, along with their recommendations about which ones needed to be done first. And so we came up with a really comprehensive list. I think there are 13 different locations in different areas of the village, everything from Hearth Circle and Kettle Court over on the west side to an area near 184th and Glen Oak, and then over closer to the east side of the village, areas like 176th and 177th Street.
So this is more than just one area we're looking at. We're like, oh, that's bad. No, we're looking at an overall view of the village here.
Right, and even in Oakwood Estates, there are some areas that are really bad. So the bid came in a little bit lower for the areas that we designated, and so at a cost of a little bit over $670,000, our Lansing residents are going to see a huge improvement yet this year. So in fact, it's already started.
It's a big project.
It is.
It's a big project, but a worthwhile one that definitely people are going to see.
Yes.
Now, with all this talk about infrastructure and building things and all that, obviously there's plans in place and plans being talked about and things still, you're trying to ruminate through. So one thing that is coming up that probably will help people would be the state of the village. And I don't know if everyone knows. I'm sure a lot of people do, but maybe not everyone knows. What is the state of the village? Well,
we're going to have a session at the Lansing Library. The library director, Debbie Albrecht, was kind enough to partner with us on this. And so it's just going to be a session that's completely open to the public. We have a lot to talk about including the things that you mentioned, Neil, but also economic development. We have a lot of exciting news there also. And so that session is going to be September 6th at 6:30 on the main level of the library. And although we're still in planning about the topics that we want to talk about, I think that, as you said, our residents will learn a lot.
So it's a good place to come to maybe find out more than what they're either just hearing here at board meetings. They can talk to you guys kind of directly.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be great. So we're looking forward to that. And then kind of one of the last things I wanted to talk with you about was something more personal to what you've been working on, which is the Human Relations Commission.
Neil, our idea stemmed again from when we were talking to our residents before the election. Many of our residents let us know very clearly in no uncertain terms that they don't always feel welcome in our village. That, you know, their skin may not be the same color as their neighbor next door, and they want to find a way that both of those neighbors could be involved in something together and not only feel welcome, but be able to do something good for the village. So we began to think and realize that a Human Relations Commission could help us along with that. And again, the main goal at the time was to try to make everyone that resides in our village feel welcome. So it's taken some time. We did a lot of research. We found that most communities that have a Human Relations Commission, which are very few, especially in Illinois, by the way, they are often not successful. And so we did take another step back and we're very, very careful. We looked at Human Relations Commission policy from all over the country, took bits and pieces of each, and ended up that we've decided there will be 9 commissioners on our Human Relations Commission. We put the word out through LNN and other avenues earlier this year that people could apply to be on the commission. And so we took in 31 applications and resumes and narrowed that number down to 15 people that we interviewed very carefully, took our time. And from that 15, there will be 9 that my office will be recommending to the village board for approval. They will be introduced at the September 4th board meeting, and then at the second board meeting it's in September. Hopefully their appointments will be complete and the Board of Trustees will agree. So right now the Board of Trustees has all of those 9 resumes and applications, and they have the ability now to get in touch with each of those applicants to ask questions if they choose. So it will be an exciting time for the Village of Lansing to actually start this Human Relations Commission. I know that each one of those appointees has ideas. We have a couple little ideas, but nobody in my administration is going to be a part of the Human Relations Commission. They will be working on their own, and I have very high hopes. I also know that there are some communities that may be watching to see what we do, because if it is as successful as I think it will be, people will be mimicking us, which is flattery, of course.
Yes, of course. And on top of that, really what you're saying is that we're working here in the village to make a better quality of life for everyone.
That is exactly correct, Neil.
And just to end off real quickly here, this is the stage here to talk to us, but you're also talking to the village. What would you like to say to the residents about just how much you love being their mayor and how much you want to help them in the future coming up?
Being the mayor of Lansing, Neil, even in the first, we're not even at a year and a half yet, and I know that we made the right decision to do this. I know many residents have already reached out to us and said that Lansing is a happier place. It's more friendly. They're seeing small improvements. Not every improvement has to be huge. Yeah. They've seen small improvements, and I'm really proud of that. And I think we have some things coming along even beyond Fox Pointe with economic development in particular that I think people are going to be really excited about, and that of course will help Lansing be more successful.
Well, Mayor Eidam, thanks again for being on the show.
Thanks to you and your crew for having me, Neil. I had a really good time here today.
And thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more, subscribe to us on YouTube.